Wednesday night yet again. It is time for another Auburn Family Night. We are back again to discuss the things that are on your mind, your comments, your questions, and of course, your calls as well. Let's get into all things Auburn right here and right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, however you consider yourself to be part of that equation, we are just happy that you are here to spend a Wednesday evening with us. However you got here, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, we appreciate you spending some of your hard-earned time with us here at E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. I'm your host, Kyle, as usual, here on the YouTube channel and more specifically on Auburn Family Nights. And it is a joy to be back with you guys here on my favorite night of the week. Is just to shoot the breeze, hang out, and talk a little bit about some Auburn topics. We can get into anything that you'd like to discuss. There's actually been a lot happening this summer, it feels like, with a lot of new things transpiring. Some of the more pertinent topics this week, obviously the MLB draft with some Auburn Tigers from the Auburn baseball team were taken and some implications for that. We even put out a video day today about that. Obviously, we are getting ever so closer to football season. So there's a lot of talk and speculation. Talking season's almost here. SEC Media Days, that we can get into a little bit. But whatever you'd like to talk about, it is your night and your show. And you can even call in, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. Stuff at the beginning of the show. What I'd love for you to do is, as you come into the stream, or if you're on the replay, you can do both of these things, or both of that version of viewing can participate in this way. We'd love for you to tell us that you're here. Post that you're here right now in the comments section, in the chat, if you're live, with where you're watching from, your city and your state. If you're international, you can do that too with a War Eagle, however you'd like to identify yourself, even if we've got some rogue fans out there. And of course, as always, if you think we've earned it, please do make sure you smash the like button here on the stream tonight. So we all are going to open up the phone lines for anybody that would like to take advantage of that. I do believe it should be posted on Facebook as well. I can't guarantee that it'll appear like pinned to the top of the chat or the comments section there, but it should be there somewhere. If not, you can come over to the old reliable YouTube if you'd like to access the call-in link, which is brought to you by our friends at allthingsauburn.net. Please do visit them for a place to stay in Auburn and have a full and complete Auburn experience. I can vouch for that myself. So they're the ones that bring you the phone lines each and every week. We are ready to roll, folks. What is on your mind? What would you like to discuss? First of all, while we kind of let everybody get warmed up and start saying hello, as I see some of you are already doing that, I want to express my appreciation for everybody who showed up last night and who watched on the replay thus far for Clint Richardson and the Auburn Uniform Database, obviously celebrating 10 years. If you missed that live stream, I would encourage you to go check that out. It was last night, about the same time last night, and we went back down memory lane, talked a little bit about his vision for the uniform database, and talked about some uniform stuff too, as we always do with Clint. So that's always a joy to have him on the show. And as you probably figured out by now, it won't be the last time that we have him on the show. All right, we got people checking in on Facebook, on YouTube, across the board. We got Maryland checking in from Robbie from Maryland. Mr. Floyd, what's going on, sir? From Bruton, Alabama. I feel like you should have a way to say Bruton a certain way. It just feels like one of those towns that's got a way to say it. So I know you should call in, Mr. Floyd. Yeah, you're always saying you're wanting to be back on. This is your chance. The link's right up there. I know you're on Facebook. Should be available. But you can even come over to YouTube and call in. Would love to see your smiling face tonight. Thomas, good to see you, my friend. Checking in from Birmingham. I know this guy is getting ready for football season. So good to have you here. War Eagle from Jerry Mo Harris. What happened to Talon? Wow. Did I miss something? I apparently missed something. I will be, and this probably is on my part too. I often find myself doing non-work related stuff right before this broadcast because it just feels like I can check out for a little bit, but often that's at my own detriment. What happened to Demario Talon? I guess that's who you're talking about. Would somebody fill me in? Apparently something went down with that I am not aware of. I feel like it's never failed. A Wednesday night comes in and Kyle is not ready for something that is being discussed. Well, I pulled up his profile. He's still got Auburn stuff on it, although it's been a minute since anything has been posted there by him. So I am scrambling here. Maybe some of you guys are looking in the chat. He's no longer on the roster, Jerry said. You know what, Jerry? I actually noticed that the other day, and it's now coming back to me. Because I did a video for our latest linebacker commit, and I did my numbers one time on the roster numbers for linebacker, and it came out wrong. And so right before I hit record, I was like, okay, well, maybe I just saw it wrong. And so I even talked about Demario Talon in the video. So such is life, right? Have no clue. I am not informed on the situation. I just see some of the beat writers confirming that about 11 minutes ago. I mean, this is like breaking right now. Let's see if we can't find information here. Left the program. This is from Auburn Wire. First reported by AL.com's Matt Cohen. So for those of you that don't remember, Demario Talon was one of the big transfers in from this first transfer cycle with Hugh Freeze, where he just cleaned up. That makes me very, very sad because I was very hopeful for the future with him here and seeing how loaded, when I say loaded, just numbers wise, the linebacker group was, how he might be able to be set up for the future once we kind of get past this year as a leader in that group. So that is sad. That is very, very sad that appears to be true. And now it's all starting to come back to me at this point. Neil said there was a transfer defensive lineman, but he missed he misread a headline. So I don't know which one you're talking about there, but if there's another transfer I need to know about, let me know. Thomas says, got my tickets for the New Mexico State game today. Let me just tell you, folks, if you have not gotten tickets, and I don't think they're selling the single tickets yet. Like, I think you could probably buy people's who put theirs on the market already, I would assume. But Auburn hasn't released its single game tickets, I think, yet. I'm just telling you, I think it is going to be hard to come by this season for a decent price. And it's probably wise if you were to take advantage, especially if you got a family, to buy one of these 4-packs that they're talking about with a parking pass. And I don't know where they put you with that parking pass, but personally, I don't think it's a bad idea. Jerry has confirmed that they're doing the 4-packs. So yeah, I know they're doing them right now. I didn't know if they had started doing the single tickets as well yet. I didn't believe so. Hadn't seen that news drop because I figured this. Here was my fear, and this is why I went ahead and bought season tickets for myself. Is because normally I go through my routine of, about 2 weeks out, I start kind of dropping hints, like anybody got an extra ticket or things like that, putting the feelers, asking the people I know that usually do, ready to pay, always hoping someone's got an extra ticket that they just came about and don't need to have it purchased from them. But I think those days are, for this season, going to be long gone. Thomas and I are going to be in the upper deck together. Woo! Upper deck party. But there's 2 upper decks, so we'll probably not even be anywhere near each other. Let's see. All will be better once we have that fall depth chart. You're talking about losing Demario Talon. Yeah, I think anything right now, any news of someone leaving the program, not making it here, hits harder because we don't know what the team looks like at this point, right? We don't know what potentially the roster, the depth chart may or may not look like. And so there's always that little bit of unknownness there. All right, we got our first caller, and I don't know how long he's been there while I've been rambling. So we'll go ahead and bring him in and say hello. I called him out live, and now he's here. Mr. Michael Floyd, what's going on, sir?
I am doing good. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly, loud and clear as you have ever been, my friend.
Okay, that is wonderful because in Alabama it's hot, so I got the air running on high, and I didn't want that to interfere with me talking tonight.
No, we're good, man. I look, I've had some pretty bad call connections before. This is doing just fine.
Well, great. Oh my goodness, I'm back on the network, man.
Hey, it's like I've always told you. What you just tell me when, and you can be on here. And every Wednesday night, you are always welcome to call in too.
And here we go, right now. We
Yeah.
on here on this Wednesday. I'm excited. And man, I just can't tell you how excited I am, not just about football, but soccer, volleyball. I mean, of course, men and women's basketball, baseball. Now, baseball next year, we had some good transfers coming in, the high school kids, I believe, that,
Hmm.
got selected in
Yep,
the draft.
we did.
And unfortunately, that hurts, but, those kids are probably making more than probably what they would get out of NIL.
And I think that people lose sight of that sometimes, Michael. I think that everyone assumes NIL is this big money grab. Now, look, there's
Right.
some of those guys out there that, yes, the moment NIL, let's just go ahead and throw it out there. The moment that Bo Nix got access to NIL, he was probably a millionaire. But
Exactly.
there are, though, the majority of the athletes are still just making a modest, income off of this, not a living, but an income off of this. So, yes, there is still something to leaving school early if you are selected high enough and if the money makes sense and the situation too, right? Just because the money can be great,
Right.
but if it's a terrible situation that you're going into for yourself, you're going to be stuck on a depth chart for years and years and years because they've got some superstar at your position. Maybe it's not time to go. Baseball's a little bit different because of the minor leagues and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it does suck to see them not come to Auburn, most likely
Right.
a couple of those, but I'm happy for them in one sense too.
Yeah, and I am too. I can't fault a young athlete who probably will probably make more coming out of high school than he would coming out of college. Obviously we don't get to see that, but you can't fault the young men, who are going to make their lives better and the lives of their parents or grandparents or whoever they're supporting. You know, it does tell you Coach Thompson has a good eye for talent.
Yes, he does.
So,
Definitely.
so I'm pretty sure now that the draft is over, he can find some players who can come in with that underdog mentality, who's kind of probably ticked they didn't get drafted or get looked at, and come to Auburn and make a statement next year. But man, I just think as an Auburn fan, you kind of learn to it's either you're gonna set your expectations way low or you're gonna set them way high. So I don't know what stage I'm currently located, but I all around this time going into August, I always set them high, too
Yeah.
high, you know. And then that's what caused me to get stressed and on the verge of blacking out because I set them too high and I get upset. You know.
Michael, how many times have you blacked out at an Auburn event or watching it on TV?
So I've come to learn. Here's a fun fact about me. I get angrier watching it than I do if I'm there in person.
I understand that.
You
Yeah.
know, and that's probably due to the fact of you when you're there in person, you never know who you might be sitting around. And I see it all the time where I don't want to end up seeing by let's say number so and so makes a mistake and I say something very outrageous towards number so and number so and so's parents or grandparents or relatives are 2 rows below me or next or beside me.
Yeah.
I of course, and I see you post all the time on social media. If you're not gonna say it to their face, don't say it at all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he is so true, but oh my goodness, sometimes it just slips unintentionally.
No, look, I don't think there's ever room for constructive criticism. And sometimes constructive criticism isn't the most friendly thing out there. Like, I look, somebody makes a boneheaded play out of bounds. You're going to hear me just yell their name out. Why are you doing that? You're smarter than that. And, I would have no problem with a relative of theirs hearing me say that, because I feel like they're saying the same thing, and it's said out of love. But you know, you
Right.
get these people that just lose their minds about someone and just start
Right.
cussing their mama and everything else. Right then, you know, I'm like, hey, come on. Look, if he's in front of you, I would be willing to say that athlete, come on, man, you know that was a boneheaded
Right.
run. He'd be like, yeah, that was right. I got the flag. So you always
Exactly.
got to keep that in check. But even beyond just being mad at a player, I could just see you and how excited, how into every game that you get in person, just blacking out at least
Right.
twice in your life.
Exactly. Yeah. So I want to ask you a question,
Yeah.
and I want you to answer it for me.
Okay.
What are your expectations going into this season?
So you're wanting a record, or are you just wanting kind of just general expectations?
General.
General. Okay. I expect us to do way better is very generic. A lot better than we did last year. Now, whether that means a lot more wins or just being more competitive, I don't think that's a big expectation. Honestly, the way we kind of slipped last season, I expect Auburn at some point, football at some point, to surprise some people that they're actually talking about them in a legitimate conversation, whether that's for SEC West contention or, you know, the SEC outright, but not, you know, like saying at the end of the year, we're going to be in that conversation for sure. I think Auburn, if you look at the schedule of the way it lays out, you've got a very, I won't call it easy, but an easier first
Right.
3 games. Then it gets
Nothing's
pretty,
easy at Auburn.
right. Then it gets pretty challenging after that. I think you could see Auburn taking at least 1 loss in the next 3 games, if not 2. If they get out of that stretch, that initial SEC stretch with 1 loss and go on another little bit of a run, which I think they're highly capable of, you could find the conversation shifting to, well, is Auburn about to do what they did under Gus Malzahn's first year?
Right.
But this is really a season where it can literally swing one way or the other. And I just hope everybody understands that patience is going to be required, because we have reached a new low in our foundation. And not to say that there weren't ever any good things done the last 2 years, but
Right.
we have dropped down even further. So it's going to take a little longer to get back up. So I think cautious optimism. I think expectations need to be tempered. And I think if you do those 2 things as a fan, you will be pleasantly surprised this year with what Coach Hugh Freeze could put out there on the field.
Right. And I 100% agree with you. And I know most of the people watching tonight, and if another caller comes in, let me know, because you know I can talk forever.
Yeah.
Um,
You're good. You're good.
but you know, and I appreciate many of the viewers tonight, you know, are excited about football, and you know, and something that I won't do, and I will never do, is, you know, Coach Brian Harsin, he's fired, he's gone, he's not even in Auburn anymore. So anything from here on out to me is irrelevant.
Right.
You know, my focus is on Coach Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers right now. What happened in the past, you know, it happened, all the bad, whatever it was, is done, it's over, move on.
Right.
You know, and I see Twitter comes up with something every day, and I'm like, goodness, let's just move on.
We have too many people that want to be the next anonymous. And if you notice, the ones that are pushing this are the anonymous accounts, the ones that you can't easily figure out who they are, that want to get the clicks, their 15 seconds of non-fame, because you don't even know who they are, that will run with a rumor with providing no foundation for information on that. And frankly, even if it is true, what does it matter? We're referencing the Brian Harsin rumor that he apparently stole we'll call it a company car, or did not return it, and somebody had to go get it from Auburn and bring it back. Could it have happened? Absolutely, sure. But what does it matter at this point? I mean, you know, we fired him. He's gone. It's over. I've moved on, but some haven't, apparently.
Right. And I can tell you, and you know, the excitement for Auburn's football this year just didn't happen yesterday. You go back to that week when Auburn went to Mississippi State. Funny story. I was on the Tiger Transit on my way back to my apartment, because I was done for the day with classes, and my phone was just going crazy. I'm like, what is going on? And I said, okay, wow, has just done it. And then a couple hours later, it was like, uh, Coach Carnell Cadillac Williams has been promoted to uh, head coach. And I was like, whoa. And I went on StubHub as fast as I could.
You and me both.
And I bought me a ticket for Starkville. I was row one right behind the Auburn bench that Saturday. And it was just amazing seeing the energy from Tiger Walk to pregame to in the game. Now, the game started bumpy. I'm like, oh, Lord, I came all the way here to Mississippi, and it's not looking good right now.
Right.
But the way they came back and played, oh, my goodness, was just phenomenal. Forced overtime, it got away. But you come back that next week against Texas A&M, and oh, my goodness, that excitement. I mean, I can speak for majority of the students and say, the Auburn spirit, the hype, the excitement was probably at an all-time high. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure students, will fill up Jordan Hare in the fall, because you got Georgia, you got Alabama, you got Ole Miss, and Ole Miss is starting to become a rivalry. I mean, we're going back and forth with Ole Miss like every other day, it seems.
And now we're not even going to see them every year. So, I mean,
exactly. So, I mean, it's going to be exciting to see what Coach Freeze does his first year. We could have a miracle on the playing season like we did in 2013, but I think the results this year will be better than what some people expect.
Right.
Now, for me, I'm already predicting we're going 10-2. That's me right now. We're going 10-2, and we're going to beat Bama.
Wow.
10-2 and beat Bama. That's me right now. Midway season, I could be okay. I just hope we make a bowl game. Right. It's just like it's just rapid like that.
Yeah,
it's just rapid.
Well,
and go ahead.
No, and to your point is so when I hear a 10-2 prediction any year, pretty much, but even this year, given the context of where the team's at, what we know, and all that kind of stuff, I always kind of smiling. It was like, well, that's a bold prediction, but I mean this sincerely. If you're going to predict a overachievement, I think would be fair to say at this point, like that, this is the year to do it. Georgia and Alabama are at home. Yes, you got to go to LSU. Yes, you got to go to Texas A&M and Arkansas, and Ole Miss looks like they may be formidable too. But if you're going to predict a season like that, you got to do it when the home schedule is in your favor. So you've picked a good one. So I don't disparage a 10-2 record, and I hear that predicted. I just go, well, that's bold.
Right. And, with me, you're going to get bold and crazy. And I'm like, we're going 10-2, and I don't care what anybody says. We're going 10-2, and we're going to beat Bama. I don't know who the two losses are going to be, but we're going 10-2. And if you look at Auburn's schedule, I think you just have some great trips this year. Auburn fans can go to Texas A&M. I heard that's a great environment.
Yeah.
They can go to Baton Rouge. I'm going to Baton Rouge, so I'm really excited about
that.
Good
luck, my friend.
I was there when Harsin won, and Bo Nix was doing his magical plays, and that was some of the best fun I've ever had. So I'm like, okay, I got to come to LSU every year now because I was here when we broke the curse.
Yeah,
you do. So I got to go every year.
Yeah, listen, whatever anybody was doing 2 seasons ago when we were playing in Baton Rouge, do that same thing. Where you were. I don't care if you were on some trip in Alaska. You need to be in Alaska come LSU Auburn kickoff. That's what I'm saying from now on, especially when it's in Baton Rouge. So whatever we need to do to keep that voodoo from happening again on us, let's make sure it happens.
Yes, absolutely. And obviously, and the Tigers go to Vanderbilt this year. I mean, it's just great road trips for football. And I know everybody's attention is on football right now, and probably mid-October going into November, all eyes will be on basketball. I mean, 'cause that's how it goes, it all overlaps. But fans have a right to be excited. We've endured a lot over the last past, I don't know how you want to even say, 7, you can say 2, but we've, endured a lot, went through a lot, seen a lot of things. But I honestly believe the future for Auburn football is bright.
Absolutely. And it's a lot easier to say that when you're starting from the point that we're at, because it's hard to get, much worse. Now, there are a lot of football programs that say, oh, you think this is bad? Vanderbilt's looking at us like just laughing. Like we
Right.
we would love to have one non-bowl season every decade, like y'all seem to do. We struggle to get to a bowl game every year. But that's just the difference in standards between Auburn football and a Vanderbilt football. The standard is
Right.
Auburn, wins 8 to. When I say the standard, I'm not saying this should be the expectation. I'm saying the standard is you must win 8 to 9 every year. You must be competitive for the SEC title, not just the West, but the title. Be in the race for it at some point in the year and not just the first 4 games. And you must be at some point within that span also competitive for the national title and recruiting well. So those are tall tasks to do in this day and age, but Auburn is very capable of them. If there's any team that has shown in its history that can quickly turn things around, it is Auburn.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, we are a team that always plays with heart. We might not ever be the biggest or the strongest 12 people on the field, but we're going to give it all every down. And I truly believe if you play with heart and motivation, you can win a couple games you're not supposed to.
Yes.
And I think that will be the case for some games this year. And just the plus getting Georgia and Alabama at home, and then obviously next year you're going to add two more marquee programs to the league, and with Texas and Oklahoma, and that's going to be great. But I don't care if it's Neville Arena, I don't care if it's Jordan Hare Stadium, I don't care if it's Plainsman Park, J.B. Moore. Auburn fans love Auburn, and we hear it all the time. And I think we're inheriting something in the years to come that's going to be really special. And I think A.D. Cohen has a great plan for Auburn athletics. You see the expansion for Plainsman Park. I mean, Plainsman Park is about to be a marquee place to come watch college baseball.
Yes, it is. And with the
that's great.
I don't know if people listened to the podcast this week with Andy Burcham, John Cohen, and Coach Butch Thompson sitting down talking through the vision and some of the process behind deciding those renovations and kind of walking through the 3-year phase that will be to its full completion. But I got that same sense there that this is a very special time for Auburn baseball, but also for Auburn football, for all athletics. And I'll probably share this quote out tomorrow on social media. I've been kind of sitting on it just because we've had other things going on. But Andy said in his discussions with them that he said his feeling, and that he hears from a lot of other people, is that for the first time in a while, and I'm putting words in there that are probably not accurate to what he said, but essentially saying that it feels like there's a alignment from top to bottom, athletic department, Sanford Hall, board of trustees, all the way down. And that's very much appreciated by a lot of people. So I think that is lending itself to what you're talking about.
Yes. And it is something we needed in 2013. It's something we needed in 2022. It's something we probably needed back in 2004. But now you see it, you are witnessing it. It's just something special. And I'm about to hop off. Thank you for taking my call. And if you're listening, follow me on social media at AUJungleVP. I'm there. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the E2C network.
I appreciate that.
Kyle, thank you so much. And War Eagle.
You're always welcome, Michael. Thanks for calling in. Great to hear from Michael tonight. You can call in too and share your thoughts about anything. We hit a bunch of different topics there across Auburn sports. That's what we're all about here. So don't be shy. I saw a lot of you checking in during his call. So thank you guys so much for being here tonight and choosing us for your Auburn content. We'll hit some of the comments and questions until you guys give us some new ones or someone else calls in. So go ahead and hop back into the chat or get in line to call. if you're interested in doing so. Rob, still remembering Rob, even though you've changed your name on there. What's the date for the first fall practice? To my knowledge, and as we just discovered at the beginning of the show, I was out of the loop on the Demario Talon news, which apparently broke right as before we live. So it's not like I was that behind. That has not been announced. Typically, what that gets announced on the SEC media days that Auburn will be partaking in, or right after that. If I remember last year, Coach Harsin didn't give the specific dates, but said we'll be starting, our anticipations to start by this weekend or this week. And then like a couple days later, they released the official. Some coaches have released an official schedule for everybody to have, and some have just said in a press conference, we will start on this date and we will practice every other these days and be off these days. And some variants there. So I don't know what Hugh will do, but I would bet SEC Media Days next Tuesday, right, for us? I think it's Tuesday. Is it Tuesday or when? I think it's Tuesday. We will know a little bit more information about that. And I think Rob or WT actually says here, we were talking about expectations for the year, and this is a very common theme. I think 8 wins is very reasonable right now. I'll do my final predictions for the year when we get closer to that time, giving you what games I think will win, not just a record. But I honestly go back and forth, kind of like I was talking about with Michael when he called in. You literally have a year where it's in Auburn's favor to pull off something that nobody expects them to. Question is, will they do it? History says they will, but sometimes history isn't an indicator of the immediacy of it. Yes, Michael is a great caller. If you don't know Michael Floyd, he is a very active member of the student body. I met him a few years ago. He has been on podcasts. He and I hang. I feel like I see him everywhere. He and I seem to go to the same events at Auburn, even though he gets to go to more than I. But he's one of the best Auburn people I know. So if you're not following him, AU Jungle VP, Michael, if you're still watching, correct me if I'm wrong, or just look for Auburn Superfan number 2 on Twitter, all the places, and check him out if you have not done so. WT says, go to LSU for the game. Expect the urine balloons raining down on you. Look, I did not experience the urine balloons, but I experienced enough that I felt like I had urine balloons thrown at me. I've said this several times on this show. There are always exceptions to the rule, but there won't probably ever be a fan base as a collective that has a worse reputation than LSU. It's kind of why, for me, even though I've spent the last few weeks discussing the SEC schedule change and say I'm not super mad about us losing an annual LSU rivalry, I still almost look at them as I'd almost like to beat them more than Georgia, just because of how their fan base behaves as a collective, not as individuals. 9 wins is realistic. Anything more is icing on the cake. Yeah, I think we could aim a little bit higher, but yes, 7 wins is very, very possible. It's, the non-conference this year shouldn't be the most challenging. Doesn't mean we won't run into an issue or two. Past has proven that happens. That can happen. Oh, Georgia State. Missouri. But outside of that, you've got to get 3 SEC wins. And, there's Vanderbilt. Mississippi State's probably going to be reeling a little bit after the loss of you know what? I spent some time today rewatching some of the Mike Leach videos, and I think I just came across somebody's tweet or something that made me go back and look. And yeah, it still hits me pretty hard that guy's not here anymore. It's very, 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 very sad. Michael's still there. Says, to finish my thought, the alignment is there. Board of Trustees, President Roberts, AD Cohen, Athletic Director, Auburn athletic coaches. The goal for Auburn is to succeed now and later. Very good thought to end that point. You can, obviously, phone lines are open. The phone lines are open for anybody. And Michael, I hope also that I checked, we're following you on Threads too. So I don't know what if you weren't seeing that, let me know. We can make sure that happens. Okay, a couple more comments I think that I missed on the way back. WT says, I used to get invested in wins and losses for football. It consumed me and dictated my emotions. Once my daughters were born, I realized it was ultimately just a game. It's entertainment. It is, but it just means more. And as long as you recognize that, keep it in the, you can always tell the people that their life is too much invested in sports, particularly Auburn sports and particularly Auburn football. Very easy to spot, especially on social media. And if you have a very full, whole, complete Auburn experience, as we preach here, you'll find yourself not being in that category. And I would say that experience should go outside of Auburn stuff too. Yes, Auburn Threads rules. I will admit, though, Michael, Threads has definitely lost some steam from those first 2 or 3 days. I know that, we're not the biggest fish out there, but I can definitely see, at least since that time for us, a big drop off in the interest to be over there. I think it's a nice alternative to try something out. I love it when there's competition for things, but I don't know that Threads has the ability to do anything much different than Twitter doesn't already do. So we'll see if it survives, but I think Auburn Twitter it lives on, even though there was a bit of a migration from that. And I will go back. Rob said here, even though I was saying what I was saying about the LSU fan base as a collective, Tiger Stadium's pretty cool. It's a weird stadium, like the construction wise. Maybe they've kind of cleaned it up. When I remember, it looked like it was kind of hodgepodge sections. Giant, looks like a coliseum. Yeah, it's a great college football atmosphere. I think I still prefer the Swamp more than that for a college football atmosphere. Part of that is it's hard for me to break away from my bad experiences that I had at LSU, and I had some bad ones. And probably my wife had more of those too, which is sad to say. Devin, watch the Big 12 Media Days today. I'm a BYU fan. Devin, let's be honest. You are an Auburn fan. You are a BYU fan. You are a Washington Huskies fan. I feel like you got like 5 fandoms, but I don't mean that in a bad way. I just think it's funny. It's like, I'm a BYU. No, you're in everything. You are an Auburn fan though. And I love that. I love that you're so passionate about so many different things. But says it means we are that much closer to to kickoff in general, but even to our kickoff. Yeah, I think it's a smart decision by Big 12 to put their SEC Media Days, ahead of the SEC, because they know that's what everybody else is waiting for. The great thing about being in the SEC is that you have the name brand power that you're going to get the attention. Vanderbilt gets the attention that they never thought they would simply by being in the SEC. And we get the benefit of them holding up our GPA. I'm just being honest. We all know it's true. And they win something every once in a while. That's it. Just the 3, Washington, BYU, and Auburn. I feel like there's one more in there we talked about before. I could be wrong, though. No, she's not Oklahoma. She wouldn't dare be an Oklahoma fan. Is this the best we have had top to bottom of the big 3 sports in terms of coaches, football, basketball, and baseball? That is a great question. But if you're asking me now, do we have the best? I don't know that we can answer that because we haven't seen what Hugh Freeze will do at Auburn. We know what Hugh Freeze does at Liberty. We know what he does at Ole Miss. We know what he does recruiting wise at Auburn thus far. So from that, if we're going to just talk about the best recruiting between the big 3 at this current time, sure, you might have that across the board. We know that for Bruce. We know that for Butch. It seems like that's the case for Hugh, but we don't know that yet. I do think we hit a sweet spot when Gus, Bruce, and Butch were here together. And that, not to go down that rabbit hole, but should have never been broken up, but I stirred people up now. Either way, we might be heading into the best of times. Two of those look great. It's just a matter of time to figure out if that third one's there. We got our next caller in. Let's say hello. Look, if you thought optimism was high with Mr. Michael Floyd, I'm about to bring you Captain Optimism himself. He's right here. Mr. Kevin, what's going on, sir? Kevin, you there?
War Eagle.
Yeah, there you are. Hey, buddy, how are you, War
Yeah,
Eagle?
War Eagle.
How you been?
I think
Our connect.
I think we will be real good this year.
I bet you do. Michael Floyd dropped a 10-2 record prediction. Do you think we'll do better than that?
12, we might win like 12-1.
12-1. So you're calling for one loss with a SEC or a bowl win, it sounds like. I can take that. I will take that right now to the bank, sir. I like that a lot. What else is on your mind tonight?
I think you will see Jaquez Hunter be playing.
Yeah, look, a lot of people are still concerned that he is not going to be part of the team. But there's a lot of evidence out there to see that there's no reason to think that other than the controversy or what may or may not have happened. He's out there preparing. You don't do drills as a running back running up a hill through cones if you're not planning on playing soon. You do it to stay in shape, but you don't do the level of intensity that he's doing with a former Auburn running back. So I think you may be right that we'll see him playing.
Yeah.
Excuse me. What else is on your mind?
And I think Jaquez Hunter, no, not Jaquez Hunter. I think Javaris Johnson will be the main wide receiver.
You know, I think you and I've talked about this a lot. I really hope so. I really want one of our guys that have been here for multiple seasons, especially at the wide receiver position, to finally break through as not just a starter, but as a big target, like someone that everybody's keying off of in their defenses. And I would love it if that's Javaris Johnson. I would love it if that's a Malcolm Johnson. I would throw Coy Moore in there. Any of the Camden Brown, any of those guys, I would love to see them get their moment in the sun. So I hope you're right.
I can't believe Casey Poe committed to Alabama.
Is that official? Did he actually commit already?
Yeah.
I didn't know that actually happened already, but that shows you how disconnected I tend to be from there it is. I see the Alabama commitment right there. I just looked it up online. Yeah. Hey, it's just another one. If he wants to go sit on a depth chart, more power to him. But if he changes his mind, he could have some opportunities here at Auburn.
Hopefully we can get Jalen Crawford.
Oh, Jalen Crawford, the defensive back. Yeah. We're starting to put together a strong defensive back class so far for 2024. So I say let's keep the good times rolling and keep it going.
He supposed to tell everybody where he's going on Saturday.
Yep, I saw that. So we'll be ready, sitting around to obviously post about that and do a video about that. Speaking of which, we'll do, since I was on vacation when the two commitments came, we got the first one done yesterday. We'll do a video about the second one tomorrow. So be looking for that. Everybody who's interested in those type of videos.
Have you heard anything about they're having fan day?
Nope, nothing announced yet. Typically, we don't hear anything about that until they get well into fall practice. I say fall practice because it's blazing hot in the summer. But I would suspect 2 weeks before, maybe a week into fall practice, they'll probably, if they're going to have one, they'll announce it.
Yeah, I think they will have one.
I hope they do something similar. I don't know that.
I want the fan day be like it always be.
Well, and see, Coach Harsin did a little bit different, and he also inherited NIL, which kind of dampened the whole you get autographs, get to go on the field and have autographs type of thing, which that was more of an A-Day thing too. So we'll see. It seemed to be a hit with a lot of people last year. And I think what hopefully Auburn Athletics will see is how well they're doing in ticket sales. See that it's going to be harder and harder for families, just individuals to get tickets this year, to have an opportunity to come see the team right before on a fan day, like you're suggesting.
Yeah, they already announced all the season tickets is sold out.
Yeah, and I got my season tickets ready to roll.
Did?
I did. I could not wait this year, Kevin. I had to get the season tickets and be ready to roll.
Where's the seat at?
I honestly don't know the number off the top of my head. I know I'm up in the upper deck corner. I went for as cheap as I could get.
I found some for two. Found some 2 tickets for $20 each on the lower level.
Did you really? Wow. For what game?
I might buy them this coming week.
If you can find 2 tickets for $20 a piece to any game, you jump on that. I mean, I don't care if it's homecoming. I don't care if it's New Mexico State. You jump on a $20 ticket to an Auburn football game.
I can't wait when we start playing.
Yeah, me too, buddy. And I'm excited to see you. You're going to come see me at a Tiger Walk, right?
Yeah, Tiger Walk be at 12:30 that day.
On which game? On the first game?
Yeah, UMass.
Yeah, UMass, because I think the kickoff is at 3:30, so it's usually 4 hours before kickoff. So you're probably right on the money there.
I think it says at 2:30 kickoff.
2:30? 2:30 would mean then that Tiger Walk would be at 12:30. It would be at 11:30 Central Time, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll know all of that officially soon enough, and we'll know when we get to meet up soon. Do you got one more question for me tonight, Kevin?
Who do you think be the most improved player this year on defense and offense?
Okay, big question, hard question to answer too. There's so many options. Most improved on both sides. Most improved will be a wide receiver. I agree with you on that. I think somebody's ready to take center stage. One of these guys that's been here for a while, alongside some new guys. So I will say I'm going to take the easy way out and say Javaris Johnson with you.
Yeah.
I will say defensive wise, one of our linebackers, probably Cam Riley. And that's probably a bit of a stretch because he did have a pretty strong beginning of the season last year and kind of fell off, but that would still be an improvement. So I'm going to say Cam Riley as our most improved this season. So that's a great question to end on. And I appreciate you calling in tonight, Kevin. Okay.
I'll see you next Wednesday.
Yes, sir. Always look forward to our calls.
War Eagle. Bye.
War Eagle, buddy. All right, great to hear from him. We've got another call on the line. We'll bring them in just a second. Let me make sure I didn't miss any comments or questions. Rob said the worst part of vacation is returning to the real world. Yes and no. I enjoy doing this, and so there's part of me that always looks forward to coming back to do this on a regular basis. So for me, I was in some sense ready to be back doing this, but at the same sense, when you do check out, it's hard to get back in those routines, especially when you're having to be constantly on about the news cycle, like I and other content creators are. All right. He's back yet again. We've got him back for the second time tonight. Mr. Michael Floyd is on the call again, sir. What's going on?
Oh, I feel bad. I feel like I'm hogging up the lines.
You are fine. I will kick you off if I need to.
The last caller had some good questions. I mean, some great questions. I enjoyed listening to him. But I wanted to mention this earlier, but I guess it got away from me. But Auburn's collective, when it comes to NIL, obviously you see out there these outrageous NIL deals that other schools give certain athletes. Some athletes were in the running for. But, I guess my question to you is, what is your take on the On to Victory collective as it stands right now?
I like that it seems to have a very clear direction, vision, and leadership amongst it. It seems when I say the organization, I don't mean the organization as the entity, but the organization of the organization seems to be there, whereas the ones that began to pop up, and I think are still there, I'm forgetting some of their names, they just kind of seem to be a responsive thing as opposed to a planned out thing. So I like the intentionality there seemed to be behind getting this right, the way we want to operate, how we want to do things, how we want to promote things, the cohesion amongst the student athletes. And I would assume the vast majority are participating, but I'm sure some aren't in On to Victory. They all being on board, and you see their regular post sharing about that. I think this week the big thing has been them promoting the podcast, the YouTube channel and podcast that Jason Campbell runs with that. So I like that a lot. I like the synergy is a great way to think about that. That would be my take on it so far.
And what I hear all the time, and when I hear people say this, I'm like, well, they have a point. I heard one couple, and when we were talking, and they were just saying, and I give through, I guess when you buy tickets, you give the Tigers Unlimited.
Uh-huh.
So I guess it's how they go. I buy student tickets, so I'm not sure how, when you buy season tickets.
Yeah, you haven't had to deal with that yet.
Right. But I think like if you buy tickets, you have to give a certain amount to Tigers Unlimited. I'm not sure how that works,
right.
And I was thinking, now, Tigers Unlimited technically can't help with NIL.
True.
So, but they can give to I think how Tigers Unlimited works, they can help raise money that will help the programs as a whole. But far as name, images, and likeness, they can't just say, okay, we're going to give this player this much.
So let me see if I can frame what you're getting at here. You're talking about the difference between Tigers Unlimited versus On to Victory, and what the two, how the two are different is what you're discussing. Am I following you there? Okay,
you are correct.
So what I look at it is this, and you can kind of hear it in the name. On to Victory is NIL, name, image, and likeness. It's about individuals. Yes, it is a collective. Yes, there is the majority, it seems like, of our athletes participating in that some way, but then Tigers Unlimited promotes, yes, but also supports the program, which indirectly supports the athletes. So through facilities, through paying, whatever. That's you want to think of it that way. That Tigers Unlimited is for the program, NIL is, and On to Victory is for the individuals. That's the way I choose to look at it.
Okay. And I think that shapes it up great. And I guess that's why I urge people, and I can, I know you still give Auburn, whatever you give them through tickets or whatever you donate through their support clubs. But NIL is here, and for the foreseeable future, it's going to be here for a while. And unless the federal government gets on the same page, there's going to be some twists and turns. Exactly. There's going to be some twists and turns. So if you're able and you can, give to On to Victory. I know I'm talking with them and our SGA, and we're saying, hey, how can we get students involved? How can we get, the Auburn students a discounted package to where they can join On to Victory, and maybe that can help towards getting an athlete, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1-star athlete to Auburn, because back then, people really didn't prioritize getting a check. They probably said, well, I want to come to Auburn, get a good education, and play high-quality football, basketball, baseball. Now it's like, okay, I'm going to Auburn because they paid me more.
Right.
Which I don't think that'll ever be the case for Auburn. If you want to come to Auburn, I think it's because you love Auburn. But not saying any names, but Texas A&M, we all saw the argument between Jimbo and Saban last offseason and how crazy it got over NIL. I mean, that's what we're coming to these days. So that's all I had with the NIL and how important it was to Auburn.
You know, Michael, since you do, if you are talking to the SGA and people who have the ear of the decision makers, one suggestion I would make is what you already said. One, find a way to allow students, if I don't know if there's some legal thing with students getting involved with it that they can't overcome. It feels like that may be a hurdle there. I can't think of why, a certain reason why, but it just feels like that to me. But I would say yes, that I haven't looked recently at the pricing tier for On to Victory, but I remember when it first came out that it seemed a little bit high for the entry price into it. I would, if I
Right.
was someone, if I had the ear of someone there, I would say we need to find a way to bring that down for an entry cost. And the understanding is when you do something like this, for instance, we'd have the booster club, you get at the entry level for $1. And really, it gets you a thank you and recognition from time to time. That's about all you
Right.
get for just, so you're considered a friend of the show, a supporter of the show. But when you go up to the tiers, you get more things. So I would say if they could have a lower level of that for entry, they'll get more support into On to Victory. That'd be like my one critique.
Right. And everybody's taking yeah,
Nope, Michael, I think we're losing you. I heard you get in the car. We might have lost you now. Michael, can you hear me? All right, Michael, call back in if you'd like to finish your thought, but I think we have lost connection with you. So call back in. I'll check in with you if I still see you're on the line here in just a second. There you
the
go.
president
There
of
you
the
are. I got
University
you
of the
back.
Board of Trustees. I mean, they all know. I mean, it's not the old athletics that we grew up watching. It's a whole new ball game on all fronts.
Hey, we lost you for a little bit there. So it seemed like you had a big piece you were saying there. So give me a little bit of that again. Uh-oh. We'll let him come back in if he can call back in. I think he got on the road and the connection in Bruton didn't help him. Always love his perspectives though. So hopefully he'll come back in and finish his thought. All right. We're sitting almost at the hour mark. Typically, this is where we start wrapping up. But if we're having good conversations, if people are interested in that, I can always stay on longer. Well, not always. Tonight I can. Right now we won't start wrapping up, but please do. If you'd like to call in tonight and say hello. Yeah, there he is. Yeah. So funny thing, Michael, I guess you can hear us now. So like you went silent and then I let you go for a second, brought you back in to see if it had reconnected. And you were like on this big discussion. And then we heard you say, oh. So anyway, you can call back in if you'd like to finish your thought on that. Feel free to, but the service may not be there. You can call in too tonight. Get your comments and questions in right now. So we won't begin our wrap up here, but I'm going to go ahead and take care of this part of the show. Miss Angela, good to see you. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. But let me do this part of the show, and then we'll keep moving forward in our discussion as long as you guys are interested in it. Next scheduled live stream, if you'll stay to the end of this one or just come, or you can just find it on your own. We already have set up on YouTube our next scheduled live stream. There could be one that pops up randomly. You never know. Episode 43. That's a special number, by the way, with Austin and myself, the banner flagship show of the E2C Network, the Auburn Experience, where we talk sports, culture, family. Stay to the end of the stream. It'll take you to that watch page where you can hit the like button, the notify me bell, and be ready to go on Sunday at 9 Eastern time. We are almost so close to 4,000 subscribers. When we do that, that giveaway will be officially complete, and we will give that prize away. So make sure you're subscribed. Help us get there. Tell a friend. All those things in the description. You could be a channel member by joining here for $1 a month. You could be a booster club member for $1 a month and different tiers. There's other ways to support us in the links of those descriptions. So always check those out when you're here on YouTube. If you're on Facebook or other social media, we usually post regular things there. I would tell you, though, if you're watching on Facebook or other social media, YouTube's kind of the home base. So we'd like to have you here. We're glad to have you in all the different places. But if you can, come on over to the YouTube. Michael, there he is. He says, NIL goes back to alignment between all of us. Absolutely. Great roundup thought for both of our discussions tonight. And you're always welcome, sir. So please come back. You keeping you sane, it says, at work till 3 a.m. Whew. Goodness. Well, glad we can provide a little bit of entertainment. If you haven't watched the first part of the show, you can go back and watch that and some other content today. Since you're a baseball person yourself, we did discuss today, did put a video out kind of giving you the 5 facts that you need to know about the MLB draft. You know those better than anyone else, Miss Angela. So, but you can hear my thoughts on that. What else is on y'all's mind tonight? Like I said, we are now officially at the 1 hour mark. This is typically where we wrap up. But if you've got other things that you'd like to dive into tonight, we can do that. We have talked NIL. We have talked Jarquez Hunter. We have talked MLB draft, the baseball program. I mean, we've hit a lot of different things tonight, and that's why I love this show, because it's easy for me to just come and shoot the breeze with you guys. I'm still in shock over the last 2. You talking about the last 2 that were drafted or the last 2 that weren't drafted? Which one specifically are you talking about? I see Auburn basketball as a top tier program this year. Unrealistic. So let's define maybe top tier. And obviously you can maybe clarify this if you'd like to, but what do we mean by that? Top tier to me would be it's in the top 10 at some point, in the conversation somewhat for a 1 or 2 seed. Can Auburn basketball do that? If it does that, it's got a big climb to make. Now, the pieces that we needed to fill have been filled. I find us very similarly in the situation that we're with football, but not to the, I'm sorry, I knocked the camera around there, to the degree that football is. So I don't know that I would call it a top tier program, but I think it's fair to say it'll be one of the top programs in the country, which would be probably in the top 25, things like that. But we'll see what happens. Following up with Angela here, she says she was most shocked by the last 2 that were not drafted. I'm assuming we're talking about Bobby Pierce and Joseph Gonzalez. I think that's who you're talking about. Joseph, it makes a little bit more sense just because of his injury stuff, but he's quite a talent, so you'd think somebody would take him. Here's the rub, right? It's hard to celebrate that for me personally because that's somebody's dream not being realized. And the same hand, it's my baseball team having a better shot at getting some help they need next year. So for Bobby, for Joseph, I hate it. Maybe they'll find a free agency contract and still want to go through with that. But if we could get them back as an Auburn fan, that makes me very happy. But it's hard to really celebrate that too. Following up with WT, says top tier in the SEC. Yeah, I could get on board with that. I think right now it's really a race between Kentucky, Arkansas, Auburn, Tennessee. If Alabama can maintain it this year, I will consider them as part of that group of 5, because that was my caveat when we would talk about Alabama being a top tier in the SEC currently. If they can do similar, not be a number 1 seed again, similar to what they've done this year, then I will consider them in that, but not until then. You got to maintain it. Experts got Auburn finishing in the West at 5th. That's fair. I mean, look, there's no reason for them to think that we will do any better than that, because it's just speculation at this point. I have no problems with that, because I know every time we're underestimated, we overshoot what we're expected of us. Corey says, found a new way to enjoy Conecuh sausage. Chop them up, stick them in some baked beans. Ooh, goodness, that does sound good. It's gonna make me hungry again. I just had dinner a little while ago. All right. Does Bobby have eligibility? I thought he was a senior. Here's the thing, Devin. This crazy world of COVID years. I've said this on a video or just maybe with someone in person. We were talking about this concept. I think this year and maybe next year are the last years those will come into play, because I think the freshmen that were here, they will all be gone by then. That's my understanding and interpretation of it. So Bobby he would have been here during this time, so he may have that eligibility. I don't know that for a fact. All I know is that when people have been listed as a senior before, they've stuck around the last couple of years. I won't question it. Give me Bobby Barrels for another go around, just like Case and Howell. I'll love that. Speaking of which, I am shocked that Case and Howell has not been picked up yet. I don't proclaim to be a baseball expert or a baseball analysis expert, but his defensive abilities, I'm shocked he has not been picked up yet. If UA can get past their percent for guns, they should be a contender. I knew that was coming at some point. Speaking of dinner, I'm in the kitchen. Yay! It's an inside joke for people that have been here for the A2C network for a while. Any news on baseball recruiting? Right at the turn of the season, meaning the end of it, there were a bunch of transfers that announced that they were deciding to come to Auburn. Sorry. It seems like that's not something that I can speak to this. And so give me a second for a soapbox. So this is the rub here. We preach here about valuing the whole Auburn experience, but the reality is that you have to go where a lot of the times where the interest is. And just to be frank, college baseball and Auburn baseball doesn't drive interest the way that basketball and especially football does. So we have to kind of choose when we do content. Like the video today we put out, I knew it wasn't going to drive a lot of interest, but because I'm a completionist and I enjoy talking about that, we're going to do it anyway. So I don't know that you're going to see a lot of coverage ever about that, because I just don't see it. There's also this whole that they can go super early, kind of ruining the recruiting hype for that. There's some of that in basketball too. I think that kind of hurts that. So I don't have a lot of news on that. I tried to when I find some tidbits shared on social media, but those are few and far between. It seems like they're hard to keep track of because usually it's coming straight from the recruit and you're not getting any reporters' advance notice about it. Shaking her spoon at someone. That's funny. Devin, I think when you come to the Iron Bowl this year, I think is when you're coming. I need you coming with like a ladle or a spoon and just carrying around, walking with that. And then we'll all know, everybody that's been part of the E2C network will know she was in the kitchen. I think in football and basketball, it's who you can get to play professional right away. In baseball, it is all about who you can develop. Hitting and pitching is very hard skills to possess at the pro level. No, I don't necessarily disagree with that. You can play professional right away. I don't know if I agree with the play professional right away in football because they have to wait 3 years. Basketball, yes. I would almost put baseball and football. I would reverse baseball and football there, but that's just my perspective on it. All right. Okay. So we are sitting at about an hour 10. We'll start wrapping up here. So final comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals, get them in right now. Let me go and give you a heads up for the schedule for the week. I've already talked about it. Next scheduled live stream will be Sunday night, the Auburn Experience episode 43. Don't miss that. We'll definitely talk about the MLB draft, but some other news we'll obviously get in there too. And it's always a good time with Mr. Austin Scott. Things to anticipate. Tomorrow, plan is to produce the second recruiting video that happened while I was on vacation. Malik Blockton, that's coming out tomorrow. Saturday, if we get the commitment we're expecting, you'll probably expect a video that day too. What else is on my mind that I wanted to share with you guys? Okay, so Wednesday night next week. I aim to be here every Wednesday night. There is a small there's a possibility that I may not do next Wednesday night, but I want you to plan to still be here, just in the off chance. You'll know soon enough. It's not, I'm going to drop it at the news on y'all late. But there's a small possibility I might have to miss, but we'll announce that when we get closer to time. But I hope you guys will still keep it in your mind to be here on Wednesday nights. Didn't work out with scheduling this year. Also, I'll be super pregnant and not traveling, so I have to wait until 2020. Well, that's sad. And I thought about that as soon as I said it. I was like, I wonder if she can. That's unfortunate because this would have been a fun year to be at the Iron Bowl. They have Auburn grill spatulas available. We could get one of those for Devin. And yes, everybody, congratulations to her. No excuses. You just had a vacation, Kyle. Hey, I had a vacation and I checked out for about 4 days while I was at the beach, but I am back in the saddle, ready to go. But we've got some last minute family coming into town. It seemed like we're getting all, and I like this, getting it all out in July as everybody gets back into their schedules come August, which will be very great timing for Auburn stuff. All right, we're going to call it a night there. Thank y'all so much. Always a great joy to interact with you, talk with you. The biggest thing out of all the things that I said that you could do tonight in the description for ways to support us, but the biggest thing that you could do for us, tell a friend. Invite them here on a Wednesday night show to call in, be part of our little family within the Auburn family, because that's the only way we keep this thing going and growing is you guys. And that's why we do Wednesday night shows. So thank you so much for being here, hanging out with us, and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Until I talk to you again, War Eagle.